Now, going over to the political part of the podcast, you have breaking news with Trump being banned for running for president by the state of Colorado. Now, this comes to us thanks to AP News, and specifically contributed by Nicholas Riccardi, who is the author. They noted that, quote, a divided Colorado Supreme Court earlier this week on Tuesday declared former President Donald Trump ineligible for the White House under the U.S. Constitution's insurrection clause, which removed him from the state's presidential primary ballot, setting up a likely showdown in the nation's highest court to decide whether the front runner for the GOP nomination can remain in the race. Which is fascinatingly, if you look at all the charges Trump is getting, and again, I know there are many of them in myriad of states and also federal, none of them are actually using that word insurrection in the actual lawsuits. Now, everyone in the media is using that word in nauseum because a lot of people know that's the magical word that bars you. Now, they continue the article saying, quote, the decision from the court, whose justices were all appointed by Democratic governors, marks the first time in history that Section 3 of the 14th Amendment has been used to disqualify a presidential candidate. The court said, quote, a majority of the court holds that Trump is disqualified from holding the office of president under Section 3 of the 13th Amendment. The court wrote in a 4-3 decision. So again, these people, interesting enough, do you think that's a coincidence? All the justices who voted for this were all appointed by Democratic governors. Again, they're supposed to be impartial. I know everyone is human, so it's very hard to be impartial. I'm sure many judges have to combat that, and I think some are certainly better than others, especially the constitutional ones, where they actually, abide by the Constitution and rule based on what the founding fathers believed in. Unfortunately, those judges are few and far in between. Now, it looks like the article continues saying, quote, the Colorado's highest court overturned a ruling from a district court judge that found Trump incited an insurrection in his role on the January 6, 2021 attack at the Capitol, but said he could not be barred from the ballot because it was unclear that the provision was intended to cover the presidency. And it's fascinating how many people forget the video where there is video of Trump literally saying peacefully protest, and a lot of people are noting he's being held to a different standard than other political leaders. Others who have been much more crass, much more direct in illegal activities, most famously Maxine Waters, who very prominent Democrat, I believe, in California, who actually encourages people to make damage in the streets and cause a ruckus, I believe is one of the terms or phrases that she calls upon. Now, key points of the article, they said that the Trump's attorneys had promised to appeal to the nation's highest court, which may eventually decide if Trump can be on the ballot in 2024. Now, a lot of people are noting that for the first time in, my lifetime, there's actually a conservative majority on the Supreme Court. That being said, many of them have abdicated from their responsibilities in the past. I'm a little bit biased in terms of a lot of the things I follow politically. I'm fascinated with firearm laws and getting our rights back. And there have been many cases where they've abdicated, they've just stepped back, they refused to answer certain cases or even take on certain cases that would be pivotal to gaining gun rights in the United States. And famously, I believe it was last week, the Supreme Court denied the appeal where you had the George Floyd case, where Derek Chauvin was appealing that decision, and he was arguing that he was being prosecuted based on politics, and the analysis or there's some unethical and perhaps illegal behavior with the, I forget what the technical term is, but the analysis of the autopsy, where it was left out the high level of fentanyl was in the system, and that contributing factor wasn't taken into account to the great degree that he was arguing. And the Supreme Court, again, that was one of the most prolific cases in our lifetime in terms of one of the most prolific homicide cases, which, again, it was ruled, I forget the degree of murder, but that was the most famous cases. And they even had instances where one of the police officers was simply holding the crowd back, and I believe that officer got 3 to 4 years in prison. I mean, this is one of the hottest cases of our lifetime, and the Supreme Court declined to actually hear it. So, again, a lot of people are saying the Supreme Court is automatically going to side with Trump. I mean, there have been many instances of the Supreme Court. Some of the justices who are conservative, well, some of them just want the status quo. They don't want to make waves. So, I mean, everyone is saying, oh, yeah, it's going to get overturned like that. Is it? I mean, for the sake of our country, I hope it is, just because I believe whoever you want to run for government, again, I might not agree with your candidate or their views or the policies, but I believe in their right to run. Although, but like free speech, everyone in America used to believe, I might not agree with what you're saying, but I'll fight to the death for your right to say it. I mean, everyone in the United States used to believe that. What our country was founded on. And yet, we've moved further away from that. And many politicians actually, in Michigan and Minnesota, you have other states where they're actually passing laws so you can go to jail depending on what you say. It's astonishing how much our country has disintegrated, deteriorated. So a lot of people are saying this is going to be an easy case. I'm not so sure. Let me know in the comments, do you think it's going to be an automatic, easy? The court will, the Supreme Court of the United States will automatically, because again, there is technically a conservative majority. Trump did appoint many of them. But again, you look at the track record, some of them have abdicated from their responsibility. They really aren't ruling as much as they could. So let's just say I'm pessimistic to say the least. But the political implications are insane. This is the first time this happened. I mean, never in the United States, the amount of jokes going around about the United States becoming a banana republic are endless. Where, people used to joke about other countries where they would ban their political opponents. And this is the first time where we've had the government so militarized against a political opponent. Where, again, a lot of things Trump is being charged with, they're the same things that other politicians have done. Most famously with the files not being stored properly, and then the emails with Hillary Clinton. The former prosecutor, when it came to Hillary Clinton, they said that they did not want to take on that case. They were going to make a big deal of it because they were worried about the election integrity, and they didn't want to have her getting off the ballot because that would remove some people's rights to vote for her. So they chose not to go after her because they believed in election integrity, and they didn't want to set that precedent. With Trump, they're going full bore for him. In the case of the storing the files, literally every other politician had done it. You literally, even politicians who are technically right, you have Mike Pence, Barack Obama, Joe Biden. They all stored the files improperly, including Trump. But Trump is the only one that's actually being taken to court over it. And again, a lot of the topics, or some topics I'm more in the middle. I think a lot of people in the middle are starting to see this doesn't feel fair. It certainly doesn't seem as if everyone is being treated equally under the law. So it'll be interesting to see, maybe this does win a lot of people in the middle to want to vote for Trump, but what if they can't vote for him? There are many politicians, or other politicians for the Republican nominees saying they're going to drop out based on principle for the state, for the primary in Colorado. So it'll be interesting to see if they all drop out, which again, a lot of people are actually arguing from a political perspective and, good old moves on the political chessboard. They should have done that day one when Trump was being charged, and then you could argue that the government is actually banning a whole side of the political party. So no Republicans are running. So that was a methodology some strategists were kind of brainstorming a couple months, or several months ago, when the allegations and all the charges against Trump started to pile up. Now, I'm actually surprised. Some are saying they're actually going to come off the ballot in terms of Colorado. So it'll be interesting to see. Let me know in the comments. What do you think is going to happen from this? Or what's the long-term political implications? I've never seen this in my lifetime. You wind back the clock a couple of years, and this would have been laughable. People have said, no way would it ever happen in the United States. I might think your politician is crazy, or that guy, I might think this or that, but no one was saying probably like, we need to get this person off the ballot. They're a threat to democracy. And this, I forget the phenomenon, is fascinating, where the more the person accuses someone of doing something, the more that person seems to be doing it. So let me know in the comments. It'd be fascinating to hear, what are your thoughts on this? How do you think it'll actually play out at the end of the day? And it'll be interesting to see what are the long-term implications of our country. I'm concerned the implications are not so good. Thank you again, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Again, we're trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of December, so if you could click that button, I'd greatly appreciate it. Also, leaving a comment is a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better as I attempt to increase my enunciation and slow down my pace of speech. And I know those are issues thanks to feedback left to me in the comments. So the more feedback, the better, and I appreciate it. Also, giving a thumbs up is a great way to help the video be shared more on the YouTube analytics with all the fun algorithms trying to see how the video gets shared, so I appreciate that. Also, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.